The Gaviota Coast, located just west of Goleta and Santa Barbara, is a majestic stretch of coast that is home to a rich history of family ranches. But we cannot take this scenic landscape for granted. The three ranches you're about to see tell the story of what is at stake and some solutions to help preserve this stunning lifestyle and landscape for generations to come.
Hi, my name is Gunnar Tottram. We're here on Aurelia Ranch, a property that was purchased by my great-great-great-grandfather in 1866. It's been held within the family ever since, and I'm sixth generation growing up on the same piece of property on the Gaviota Coast, and we've seen everything from walnut orchards to dryland farming to now irrigated organic agriculture, avocados, cattle, of course. And with the average age of the farmer being extremely high at this point, getting the next generation interested in agriculture, essentially growing our food, is really important. So what we've done here at Aurelia Ranch is become a host site for the organization Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms.
My name is Paul Van Leer. I was born and raised in this area. I actually grew up over at El Capitan, a neighboring ranch. And I've done some stints up the coast, but I've pretty much lived here all my life. Currently managing the Las Faras Acres Ranch. It entails about 165 acres of avocados, 30 acres of lemons, and 1,800 acres of grazing land. The bread and butter of our operation, and as it sits today, is these avocados. Pound for pound, they're worth a lot more than lemons would be, or any other product, pound per pound.
Since avocados and other crops are now available year-round because of foreign imports, produce markets have become more competitive, adding to the economic challenges farmers face.
Chile and Mexico are the biggest two importers. Now, it opens up two different ways of looking at it. One, it actually gives people an opportunity to have avocados all year round, where before California avocados are seasonal. That's one way to look at it. And then I think it did open up more doors back east where we couldn't have done it before. But they take away our windows of opportunity. Before we had like late fall, early spring, where it was usually a good price because of the shortage or the quality was better. Now we don't have those windows because all those windows are filled in by the other countries.
Paul explains how the use of native grasses and grazing rotations can be an effective and sustainable way of cattle ranching.
So, and this on the Las Faras Edgewood ranches, we try to control our pastures as best we can, depending on the rainfall. If you graze intensely and then remove them, you're not going to get your weeds like your mustards or your thistles. You have better control over those. So, during the early part of the season, we on this browner, already turned pasture here we're standing in, we have grazed previously. Okay, and then during the winter, this is our calving ground. So this is our bulk of our pasture. We have to make sure this has enough tonnage to sustain the cows through calving and lactating. And at that point, when they're old enough, we put them on the other side of the freeway, and the grass is at that point is headed out from the previous year. And so then they utilize that during the winter. We move them around during the rainfall, depending on the rainfall. It's all regulated by the rainfall. So we try to pull all the cows off those pastures when there's enough moisture for they'll head out for our following year. Its key is dropping seeds for the next year. Always got to think ahead, think ahead, think ahead. Well, every year is different. You can't go, well, this is March, we got to do this. No, you got to go by the rainfall amount and how hot it is and projected rainfall. So here's a stark contrast of one of the things we try to do. This is a fence here, but it looks like two different pastures. But it isn't, just because there's a fence in here. It's how we graze this area. This was grazed earlier and got a chance to head out. These are all native grasses right here, and they've already headed out. Here's a native grass intermixed with their oats. They've already dropped their seeds. I have the cows in here now working this down to where it'll utilize as much forage as we can, and the next pasture is going to be over here. Here we have native grasses mixed in with rye, but there's brand new, hasn't even headed out native grass, and there's older native grass that's heading out. You can, all those taller topped brown, those are native grasses. And so what we try to do is we try to keep as many, we want to try to benefit the native grass and actually enhance the native grass whenever we can. And we could do both. We could add to our forage value and the native grasses at the same time. They go hand in hand. You just have to, timing is the issue, and it's their pasture types, sizes, and what kind of soil type. But we try to utilize the forage as much as we can and also benefit the ground as much as we can. That's our, so we try to think about that as we go. And we can move our cows around anywhere we so choose because we have them under our control. And believe me, they're happy. They're in this right now. This is okay, but they're looking over there. Grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And here's your prime example. The grass is definitely greener on the other side of the fence. And as soon as they get in there, they're going to be very happy cows. So that's what we try to do. We try to keep everybody happy. The environment, our pocketbooks, and the cows.
What most people don't know is that Gaviota's scenic beauty and wild landscape is maintained in part by working agriculture.
We have mountain lions, we have bears, we have the bobcats, we have deer, we have everything in this canyon. We have a trough up the canyon farther where I kept breaking the float. It was a bear. She'd be in there and taking a bath. And man, she kept breaking my floats. So, I'm gonna put one of those wild view cameras on there. So I put a camera up there. It took forever to get a picture of her. I got deer and turkeys and everything else, but finally got one picture, and it was an afternoon picture because I could tell by the sun direction, and her whole body was underwater except for her head and neck sticking out, and I caught her.
With landowners facing high inheritance taxes due to real estate values, it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep large ranches intact. Many of the family ranches run the risk of being sold to developers and outside interests, and it may be only a matter of time before the now open rolling hills are scattered with large homes and housing developments.
How do we focus this as remaining agriculture and not having this mansionization of the coastline happening, which we actually see the encroachment of? This is a beautiful stretch of coastline. It's the last undeveloped stretch of coastline of Southern California, and of course it's got the eye of developers on it, and there's certain things that are hard to get around. For example, estate taxes or death taxes. For a ranch that's been in a family such as ours for multi-generations, if it sells, if the person inheriting it can't afford to pay those inheritance taxes, then they're forced to do a lot split or do something to sell off a piece.
Leslie Freeman is a longtime Gaviota rancher who decided to put a conservation easement in place for his 660-acre ranch when his father passed away.
My name's Leslie Freeman, and I live in Refugio Canyon on the coast between Elwood and Gaviota. And we've been here since 1956. Well, being a cattle producer, our calves are born October through December. We sell them straight off the cows in June usually. They usually will go out on feed somewhere else, and then eventually they'll go to a slaughterhouse. So we came to our problem when my dad passed away, that we needed to do something to try to save the ranch and pay the inheritance tax and stuff. So we decided to do a deal with the land trust.
Leslie Freeman worked with the Santa Barbara Land Trust and the Environmental Defense Center to negotiate his conservation easement. EDC has protected the environmental resources of the Santa Barbara area since 1977 as the only nonprofit environmental law firm between Los Angeles and San Francisco. Linda Kropp, a lawyer with the Environmental Defense Center, explains how a conservation easement contributes to a property's long-term protection.
One of the great benefits of a conservation easement is that it keeps the land in agriculture. It limits development, it supports the agricultural operations, it can also help benefit wildlife. For the landowner, it provides economic incentives such as inheritance tax benefits, property tax breaks. It also helps keep the ranch intact in the family for future generations.
The fate of the Gaviota Coast rests not only with the families and ranches that call Gaviota home, but with the public, whose support will also determine whether or not the scenic beauty of this unique stretch of coast will be preserved for future generations to enjoy. Whether this is achieved by a conservation easement or by simply understanding the needs of these working families as they struggle to sustain this landscape, we can all participate in helping to preserve this land that we all cherish.